Hey you guys, welcome back to Full Soul Travel. My name is Marian. If you're new here, thank you for watching. So this is going to be a little bit of a story time about 2 years ago when I was solo traveling in India. I got robbed. I got phone jacked, and it was kind of, yeah. So I'm going to show you the footage right now. So that was the footage, but I wanted to create this video because I get so many emails and questions about safety when traveling by yourself or even traveling with other people. I feel like what happened to me is not rare. It can happen anywhere in the world. You can be in downtown LA, you can be in Dar es Salaam, you can be in India, you can be in Jamaica, Japan, anywhere. I mean, I remember when I was like younger and when I was traveling throughout Europe, like in Paris and like certain cities in Europe, it was like a known factor that you can get pickpocketed, so watch your stuff. So, you know, there are people everywhere in the world that are looking for opportunities. They may be desperate, they may need extra money. So it's not a location thing. But I want to talk about the lessons that I've learned and some tips and tricks that I think that could help you, one, if you're solo traveling or even if you're traveling with someone else, especially here in Dar es Salaam, because recently I believe there was like 2 YouTubers that recently were robbed as well. One of them, he was phone jacked, like literally while he was live streaming, and then another one was his backpack was stolen, I believe. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you and tell you about this experience. So rewind back to 2 years ago when I was solo traveling through India. I had the most amazing experience there, but I broke my #1 rule. And for me, my #1 rule was not to travel at night by myself. That particular night, some stuff was happening and I just kind of wanted to get out of the environment that I was in and go somewhere else. And I broke my rule, and it was about 11:30 p.m. or yeah, maybe like 10 or 11 p.m. and I decided to leave where I was staying and go somewhere else. So I was waiting for an Uber, and as you can see in the footage, I wasn't really paying attention to my surroundings. My mind was somewhere else. I was like on my phone looking, checking where the Uber was. I wasn't looking around, and as you can see, the guys that stole from me, they were coming my way. So they saw me not paying attention. I mean, I was just a pure target, and they saw me and they did a quick U-turn and got me for my iPhone. So tip #1 is to always watch your surroundings. Don't let your guard down. I even think that I was too far into the street. I should have just kind of like stepped back in more, because they wouldn't have had as much access to me to jack me like that. But that was one of those situations. I was at the right place at the wrong time for them, and they were smooth. It was on a bike. There was no way I was gonna like catch them, and nobody was gonna be able to help me. But I did learn a lot from that situation, particularly because my phone, the way I had my money set up, I was transferring money from a app to my debit card. So when that happened, I no longer had access to my money. So it was kind of intense, 10 days, and I had to travel to a new country. So I learned a lot about just trusting God, trusting other people, and knowing that people will show up for you. And humanity exists. There are kind people in the world, and that is 100% true. So one of my personal tips for me that I still practice here, a little looser, but I don't go out by myself really late. If I'm going somewhere, you know, I'm going to like meet somebody, but I'm not going, like that particular situation, I was literally going out by myself. So I don't go out by myself. That's kind of like rule number one. I also don't drink when I'm traveling like that. It's just something that you just never know. If you're solo traveling, you just never know what someone may put in your drink in any situation. But when you don't have like that protection of your family or your friends, that's just kind of like a no for me. So I don't do drinking. If anything, if I do want like a glass of wine or something, it may be amongst friends in a home environment, but not at a bar. That's just for me. Not everybody has to practice that, because a lot of people like to travel and drink. That's just something that I practice. One of the third things that I do that I highly recommend people doing is, I don't know, I only know about iPhones, so I don't know about Androids, but always send your location to somebody back home. 100% send your location to somebody back home. So in my situation, now that I'm here in Dar es Salaam, I mean, my sister has my location, one of my brothers has my locations, like a cousin has my location, two of my friends have my location. So at least they know like where I am in regards to like my cell phone. And then I always let my sister know who I'm kind of talking to, who I've like befriended, who is regularly in my life, new. If someone enters my life new and they're gonna kind of be a part of it, or if someone is gonna be driving me or cleaning my house, or just anybody in general that I've talked to since I've been in Dar es Salaam, that I have their information and they know where I live, she has their information. So send contacts back to the people who you are dealing with. I've also taken photos, like, for instance, when I first arrived here, I was working with a driver. I took a picture of his driver's license and I took a picture of his license plate and of himself, and I sent that to my sister. Not because I was threatened by him, but just because he was someone that I was spending time with, and I'm in a foreign country. And then pretty much all of the people that I've met, like landlords, anybody that knows how to find me, I've sent their contact to my sister, so she has that, because I am in a foreign country, and if anything happens, somebody back home needs to know how to find you. So I highly recommend you doing that. So in regards to your passport, so technically, and I just found this out over the weekend when I was talking to like a girlfriend of mine, her partner had a situation with immigration and here in Tanzania. And I didn't know that you are required to travel with your passport as a foreigner at all times. I did not know that. As a traveler, I've always been like, I'm not taking my passport, because what happens if someone steals it, someone takes your purse or your wallet or whatever. So I've always kind of stored my passport in a safe place. So you want to make a copy of your passport, and technically, if immigration stops you, you are technically supposed to have it stamped by immigration, like a certified copy. I always have had the practice of having a copy of my passport and ID on my cell phone, like a picture of it, but I always email a copy to myself and to my sister or my aunt back in America. So at least someone back home has a copy of your documents. That will help you a lot. So that was just something that I just found out. So I was like, okay, well, at least I know I have like a copy of my passport. Yeah, I mean, I would say for the most part is what's going to help you the most as a solo traveler is to trust your intuition. That's when you really develop that muscle. Like if something feels off, trust it, it's off. I did not listen to my intuition that night. That night was so off. And I'm not saying that I caused that situation, but I did not follow my intuition or the red signs or the vibe or the energy or whatever, and I still went against that, and then that situation happened for me. So in this situation, if I had a phone stolen, it would not be as detriment as it was while I was traveling in India, because I did not have a backup. So I would say if you're traveling, have a backup phone, or buy like a phone when you come here just like as an extra phone. You just never know what happens. And, you know, our phones are literally like our lifelines these days. So, you know, a lot of our information is on there. And I will say, as far as my phone, because I did have an iPhone, I was not able to track the phone down because I did not get an Indian SIM card. What I got was a hotspot. So I was using the hotspot for internet to connect to my phone. So because my phone was not connected to any type of service, there's no way for them to find where the phone was. And pretty much, I mean, once you take an iPhone, I mean, one is dumb. Don't take anybody's iPhone. It's useless. Like, you can't even get into it. So I don't even know why people do it. Maybe it was just for clout. Like, maybe, I mean, these were like some young kids. They were just having fun. You know, they were out in the night. They saw opportunity. They went for it. I don't have any ill feelings towards them whatsoever. It's something that happens. But, you know, the good thing about, you know, having an iPhone, or, you know, I don't know about other phones, I can just talk about iPhone, is that all your information is stored in the cloud. So as far as that, I didn't really lose anything of value really, other than my actual $1,000 phone. Never buy that, a $1,000 phone again. But I didn't lose any of like the content that was on there because everything was uploaded to the cloud. I would say also a tip, if you are going out, like for instance, let's say you're dating, you're in a new city and you're dating, you're trying to, you know, see what's up. Let people know who you're with, and let people know, like, someone there that you're going out, and like let them know where you're going, or let someone know back home, just as a practice. Even if you're like meeting a new person or new friend, or like a expat or a repat, I just use as a practice of like trying to, not every single time, it's not like I'm like documenting my every single move, but if it's something that I feel like, you know, it's a really new environment, I may communicate to somebody here or somebody back home of like, hey, I'm about to do this, just to let you know. So there is some type of like track record, worst case scenario, if something does happen to you, you want to be able to have people to be able to figure out what happened. So I'm not wishing that, but we're just protecting ourselves. And I would say, as a solo traveler, that you should not be in fear of bad things that could happen, because they could literally happen to you as you are driving down the street to your house. Like those type of things can happen anywhere. But I would say that a lot of people ask me, how are you not afraid to solo travel? Are you not afraid to be by yourself? In my experience with solo traveling, you're really never by yourself unless you want to be. In my particular experience of solo traveling while I was in India, which was a completely different story than living here, because I'm living here, I have my apartment, I have like my stuff is in one place every day. But in India, I was literally going city to city. Is that you're never really alone. There's always other travelers. There's always other people who will be a part of your journey. So I think I spent like, out of the 90 days I was there, I think I spent like maybe 1.5 days alone. I literally had to carve out a day. Like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to be by myself, because there were so many people that were also solo travelers that you just meet. So I think that the beautiful thing about traveling is, especially particularly solo, you're a little bit more open to meeting people, versus if you had someone else with you, you may not be as open. You know, you may feel a little bit more comfortable because you have your friend or your mates or your child, whoever you're with, versus when you're by yourself, you become a little bit more open. But that's when you really want to trust your intuition and know, like, if someone's energy, vibe, whatever feels off, like, trust that 100%. And, you know, just take care of yourself while you're on the road. But it's such a beautiful experience to see the world and see it without the obligations of kind of like having to compromise with other people. That is the beautiful thing about solo traveling, is that you get to decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, versus having someone else kind of like what do we want to do? And I think that traveling with other people is a beautiful experience as well. I'm not knocking that, because I love to travel with friends and family or a mate, but I think that everybody should experience in their lifetime a solo traveling tip. So as far as what happened in India, you know, like I said, it can happen anywhere, and it taught me a huge lesson about life. One, like I said, to trust your intuition, but two, people will show up for you. I met the last 10 days of my trip was, I mean, if there was like a lesson that I was supposed to learn, I was only going to get that lesson through getting robbed. That I had to go through that to kind of like really get this lesson, and understanding that people, like I said, people will show up for you, and just the beauty in humanity. There are people in the world who genuinely care about you, and that they want to see you well, and that people won't leave you hanging. So that is just a few little tips and a little story time. So I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Again, my name is Marian, and this is Full Soul Travel. If you are new here, please like and subscribe, and feel free to share. All right, peace and love.